All right, hello internet. Welcome back to the Generation Strength YouTube channel. Been a while, excited to be here. I, of course, thought I would kick this off again with a deadlift setup focused video because those are my favorite and I can talk about deadlift setup all day. So I've been working on this myself for the last several months, my deadlift setup that is. So today I'm going to be talking about how I used to set up and some changes I made to my setup these last few months. So I'm going to be talking primarily about slack pull and setting proper tension to achieve an optimal start position for your sumo deadlift. So we'll get this rolling. So when I talk about how I used to set up, I used to be very adamant on getting as much slack out of the bar as possible as soon as I grabbed onto it, right? I was really big on setting as much tension from the top as I could. And what I mean by that is I'll come up to the bar, come here, and I wouldn't squat down to the bar. I would hinge to the bar, right? Hips are high here, hips are high and back. My knees are semi-locked out, or mostly locked out here. And I'll come down, and I would pull as much slack out of that bar through my upper back as I possibly could. So I'd get as much tension out of that bar as possible. And then I would try to wedge my hips in. And the issue I'd run into here is if, so I have Jalen come around to the side here. When I would do this isn't gonna feel good, but I kind of need to demonstrate it anyway. So when I would perform this type of setup, the issue I'd run into here is when I would go to wedge my hips in, the bar would break the floor before I was even able to get into my start position. At the time, I thought this was really cool. Like, oh, I'm getting the bar to float off the ground before I'm even in position, right? So I just need to add more weight to the bar to be able to get it to stay on the ground to get into that position. Well, the problem there is setting all this tension with my upper back. Your upper back's not gonna be able to hold all that tension on its own. If we're talking about deadlifting 700, 800, 900 pounds even, or if you're a lighter individual, 3.5, 4 times your body weight. So what this would look like is I would come here, set all this tension. You see the bar breaks off the floor there before I'm even able to get into position. So a lot of the strain would go into my upper back, and then my lower back too. When we get to the heavier weights, my lower back would end up compensating to get that bar off the ground because I'm not able to get my hips wedged in. So my hips are not doing the work to complete the wedge for me. So this can work, this type of setup. I have a video about it on my Instagram page. It's called the sit and anchor technique. Works really well for people like Danny Grigsby, Johnny Kaufman, a couple other lifters I've seen who can get this wide stance and this really foot flared setup, and they can get their hips super open and they're just able to be directly over the bar. They can set tension that way because their hips are already where they need to be, right? Someone like me, I have to work to get my hips close to the bar, right? Doesn't work well for me. I wish I would have known that a couple years back. Wasted a little bit of time practicing that. So the way I set up now, and the way I teach a lot of my sumo lifters to set up for the sumo, is building your tension through the wedge, not at the start of the wedge, or pulling more slack during the wedge, or however you want to word that. When I say tension and slack, they're interchangeable to me. They're the same thing. Pulling slack, building tension, same goddamn thing. So talking about building my slack pull through the wedge, and what I'm doing there, instead of just pulling as much slack as I can through my upper back, I'm going to use my foot pressure and the torque from my hips to build the slack pull, and the tension I set with my upper back is going to guide the slack pull, right? So what I mean by that, we're going to do this in real time here. I'm going to set up normal. I'm going to come down. I'm gonna pull just enough slack out of that bar with my upper back that I can hear the bar click, right? So I'm gonna click the slack out of the bar, and then when I go to wedge in, I'm gonna use my foot pressure, and I'm gonna use the torque from my hips to bring that slack with me as I get my hips closer to the bar. So here, click the slack out of the bar. Now here at the top, I'm starting to press my feet into the floor. So I'm building foot pressure, and I'm gonna press harder into the floor as I go from here to here. So start here, build foot pressure, build foot pressure, build foot pressure, I'm not letting go of the slack here as I sit through, so I'm guiding slack, guiding slack, guiding slack, building pressure, building pressure, building pressure. And when we tie all this together in a fluid setup, click the slack, build pressure, build pressure, build pressure. So you can see, if we like slow that video down there, as I get my hips closer to the bar and as I get more upright there, you can see the slack, you can see the bar bend more and more and more as I get to the start position that I want to be in. It's all about timing, right? So I can't do that with the other technique because I get all that slack out at the beginning. Once all that tension is taken out of the bar, there's nowhere for the bar to go, there's nowhere for my hips to go, so it doesn't work. So show it one more time. Set up. Hinge to the bar. That's kind of important here. It's a really, really important aspect of all this is to make sure that I start the intention we're still starting from the top down, right? We're still starting with our hips high. We're setting the intention first with the upper back, so top down, right? Hinge to the bar. I'm not squatting. Hinge to the bar. Set the tension. Build tension, build tension, build tension. And there you go. Really, really simple changes. That's why I made a longer video for this instead of trying to post it on the Instagram page. We're building tension. We're increasing the amount of slack we have in the bar as we wedge in more and more and more to get that timing perfect, to get us lined up on the bar, to get that upright position that everybody wants. And now you have an efficient deadlift setup. So give it a try, share, subscribe, all that stuff. Forget that I'm on the YouTube video, YouTube channel now, so I have to say subscribe. So subscribe, send it to your friends, give it a try. We'll be back soon.